Hello, beautiful beings, and welcome back to the Realm of Inspiration. If you are new here, the Realm of Inspiration is the source for all channeled content from the beings of inspiration, the elves, our eternal loving friends, as well as things that are just inspiring for awakening, things related to awakening and ascension and spirituality, and just also some things that I feel inspired to share with the collective all. I am Kastalia Nova Theo, and I am the Elfian Realm communicator, as well as just a light worker and being and beautiful soul, as my shirt says. In this Inspired Awakening, I'm going to be talking about power animals. So Inspired Awakening episode 5 is not an interview like the last few Inspired Awakenings have been. It is just me talking about an experience that I've had. So I'm currently in Greece when I'm recording this, but I'm recording this after I did a very powerful thing. And I decided to come back to the location that I did this very powerful thing in to discuss it, to talk about it. And for other reasons, because I just really love the environment and the place that I stayed in. So I'm not staying in the exact place that I stayed in. I'll get to it. But this is just all about power animals because I spent a month working with my power animal, and I can like see and feel myself like smiling about it because I came back to the place that I spent a month working with them in, and I hadn't even been here an hour, and instantly, like not even an hour, bam, saw one. So I'll tell that story at the end. So I have a few talking points, and I really don't like scripting things, but because this is an Inspired Awakening, I think it's important to make sure I hit certain points about this. So what is a power animal? So I did a video all about animal connections that I will link to this video that I will put in the description, and that I may even transcribe into a blog at some point just to have further education about the different type of animal connections that you can have. So power animals, a quick synopsis of power animals is that they are the animal soul that helps give us strength. So I wrote down a little thing kind of explaining a little bit about them, something that really hasn't been shared much to the collective, and this comes from the Elfian Animal Healer domain. So power animals are directly connected to our solar plexus. When you connect to them, you slowly start gaining clarity on what is draining your energy. You lose patience for energy vampires, you are more turned on to your strength, and don't give up on your beliefs. The biggest lesson I learned after working with my power animals for a month is, and I will fill in the blank after I talk a little bit more about power animals and what I did with them for a month. So, little preview for what's to come. So, back to it. Yes, power animals are directly connected to our solar plexus. We also connect to them to help bring us balance. I don't really want to like re-explain everything that's in that other video, but they help us connect to our strength and our balance. So for me, something that I need as a soul is tranquility and peace. So my power animal is a turtle. Sea turtles, and I spent a month volunteering to help sea turtles. So I'm going to explain how I found my power animal first, and then I will talk a little bit more about what I did, because I think while explaining how I found my power animal can explain more about power animals. So I found mine through doing a meditation. I was in a Reiki session, so not really a meditation, more like I was in a trance state because of Reiki. So I was in a Reiki session, and from the first Reiki session I ever had, the animal that came through to me that instantly made me feel more connected to myself were sea turtles. They would come to me, and ever since I was a kid, ever since I was little, like always, it always resonated true to me that they helped bring me peace and they helped me find my strength, because for me, my strength came through me being at peace. So when I had really bad anxiety and dog phobia that I talk about in Bye Bye Phobias, which I'll put a link in the description for that podcast little series, sea turtles helped me. I had a bracelet. It was a turquoise bracelet. It was like faux leather and had beads, and it was blue, and it was a blue sea turtle, and I would wear it on my right wrist, and I wore it for a few years before it fell off. And it helps bring me peace. When I had it, I held it close, and I always would touch the turtle. I also, when I was going through a lot of stuff with my biological father and issues with that, when I was a little kid, I had a sea turtle night light. It was a tranquil. I don't know, I might try and find an image of what they look like and put it here for you to see. It was like a light, and it would play, have lights and music and everything, and I couldn't live without it. Like, I became so attached to it because it helped me find my center as a kid. So when I heard the message about 6 months into doing Reiki every single day, that why these sea turtles keep coming to me is because they are my power animal, and that means that they can help me find my strength. And that's ultimately what a power animal does. And it helps through just being who it is. So they don't do something different than what they naturally do as an animal. Like, what they represent as an animal helps you as a soul, and it makes sense for how you are and what you've experienced. Because I selected my life in this lifetime. Before I entered, you have the meeting with God in the heaven above, and you plan out your life. You plan your soul plan. You work on that. And because I knew before entering this lifetime that I was going to experience things that would require me to have peace, to find my power, I called forth the turtles. Because with animal connections, your power animal can be very much determined on your past lives and what your soul path is. Power animals don't stay the same. It changes. So some animal connections do change, and power animals are one of them. It just is very lifetime dependable for you. If you would like a little bit more information about your own power animal or how to connect to your own, I'm working with the Elfian Animal Healer domain, and I'm going to start doing power animal readings. So I have put a link in the description for power animal or animal connection page on my website. And since by the time that this video does actually make it out into the world, it will be very close to the fall time. Power animal readings will have a fall solstice discount on them as well. It is just a one-on-one reading with me channeling the elf that works with your power animal, you understanding your relationship with your power animal, why that is, and just kind of learning how to work with your power animal. So if you just want more information and you want to book a reading, you can click the link in the description below. Just like it'll say how to meet your power animal, and then the link to that part of our website on the Realm of Inspiration, elfianrealm.com. So with that being said, we'll move on to the next thing. When and why I felt called to working with them. So I felt called to working with them when I was about 14, and this was before I even knew that they were my power animal. I just wanted to come to Greece and work with turtles. I just felt that call. So a few years later, when I figured out and I learned that they were my power animal, I was even more determined to make it happen. So I spent time manifesting. I put all of my focus, all of my attention on, even if it was subconsciously, on manifesting coming to Greece and spending 2 weeks was the original plan with sea turtles. It ended up being a month because of the project that I chose. I was originally going to go to Kefalonia, which is an island near Zakynthos, because I felt called there. I felt called to go near Zakynthos, but not to Zakynthos, and I kept seeing the letter K, so I was feeling Kefalonia. I didn't know that there was a place on the mainland that actually isn't that far from Zakynthos that does also start with a K, that I did end up finding, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I really wanted to do that. I wanted to do that project, and I had to start like really justifying and reasoning with myself. I don't know if justifying is the right word, but understanding why I was going. And my original reason was turtles helped me with my anxiety, so I want to give back to them for helping me. That reason wasn't the right reason, and until I overcame that reason, I wasn't able to find a way to go. I wasn't able to manifest a way to go, because I was thinking from a place of, I need to pay back. Like, this is a payback thing. Like, they're helping me, I need to pay them back for it, as if that wasn't soul contracted. Like, it is a part of their group soul purpose to be a power animal, among other things, among just being, and I did a channeling where it kind of talked about it for the summer solstice reading while I was in the process of working with them. I did that channeling, so I will link that here as well. I was thinking like that the group soul and the turtles were just doing me a favor, when in reality it is our contract with each other for them to help me. And so when I realized that I just want to go work with them, I want to learn about them, I want to connect with them more, and I want to strengthen that bond with a group soul that I have a soul connection with, that I chose to be with me my entire lifetime and aid me with something that I struggled with the most, which was claiming and understanding my own power and my own strength. And that is something we all struggle with in this lifetime, is standing in our power, because there's a lot of things in society that takes away our power, and a lot of it does come from financial stress and things like that. So one of the biggest things I learned is that I am like I had some financial stress, I had this and that materialistic issues, and getting so caught up in small thinking, worrying, without allowing myself to live in the present moment. The minute I came to work with the turtles, it slowly started to disappear, all of that worrying, because that worrying is what took away my power. And just by getting on the bus and taking that decision, because I had a way to escape. I'm gonna talk more about that whole story. But I want to touch on this first. Like, when I took that first step, I felt the power come back, because I wasn't giving in to lower frequencies taking away my being. So that's that. So my experience starting the journey. My experience starting the journey was a little rocky, I will say. So I ended up manifesting a job and all of these things, so I had money to come, and I kept knowing summer 2023, before I turn 20, I'm coming to Greece, and I'm working with the turtles. I wanted to go to Kefalonia. I didn't have enough funds to do that for 2 weeks. So my mom's cousin told me about Archilon. Archilon is a Sea Turtle Protection Society of Greece, and because he's done things at the rescue center before, he adopted a sea turtle, and he likes visiting the rescue center. So he told my mom about it and said, why don't I look into it? It might be more affordable, this and that. So the original thing that I was going to do was volunteer at the rescue center, which is in Glivada in Athens. So my family lives all over Athens, and it's a more familiar, safe area, and I wanted to do that, volunteer at the rescue center, and stay with family, because it would be more affordable. So I was really heavily looking into that. And then when I emailed, it was full. And I'm like, okay, so maybe this isn't the right one, but I feel like I'm still supposed to work with this program, not the other program I was looking into. So I looked and like, where can I go? And I was like, well, Zakynthos. But no, like I need to stay in the mainland. And I was looking and I scrolled through a few, and I think I scrolled like, I don't remember where it was in the like list of ones, but I just kept like kind of copy pasting and looking up locations, but I kept like seeing a name and I saw the picture, and it was specifically the picture that I saw in the like list of choosing. It was the picture that made me feel like I needed to choose it. So, and I'd never heard of it before, so I type in Koroni, Greece. It's in the southern Peloponnese. And I'm like, okay, it's actually not that far from Athens by car. So if anything happens, family, but I would be far enough away that I would be able to find my own self. So I'm like, okay. I asked, is it available? Is it open? Is this like, I saw like, okay, it's gonna be a smaller project and I'm gonna have to camp and I need camping equipment and all of that, but I'm gonna pick it. Picked it, chose it, paid like with volunteering. It's because you're paying for staying, really. So I did that, and that was that. I hadn't even booked my ticket yet. I hadn't done anything, hadn't bought any equipment. I was 0% prepared, but I paid. And I'm like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do it. And this was, I think I paid the end of January, and I had my paperwork done by like February 2nd, and that was that. And then it was just a matter of getting the ticket. So got the ticket eventually and made all the plans, did everything to come, and then, you know, I was like, everything was working out perfectly. And I get to Greece, and I had a fairly blissful experience. It was very shocking to the system. I think every step that I took getting closer to working with the power animal, I felt that I was losing a part of myself, and it wasn't myself. I was losing the fear, I was losing the anxiety, and I was gaining my power, and it felt so foreign to me. It was a shock to my system. So I get to Greece, I see my uncle, he picks me up, we're waiting for the bags to come, and you know, one bag, on my big suitcase, you know, with my tent and all my clothes. The majority of my clothes isn't there. And then I see that I got an email, it didn't make it on the plane from Austria to Greece. So it wasn't in Greece. I had a few days, I only had like 2-3 days before I was supposed to leave on the bus to Koroni. And I booked the bus ticket online too. I was like, you know, ready to go. The bag still didn't come. I had a whole fight of, am I going to wait for the bag to come and delay my stay, or am I just gonna go? And all I really needed, I had some clothes, I would just need to like buy some toiletries, things like that, and another tent. So now I have 2 tents. That I don't know what I'm gonna do with, but I have 2 tents. So I have that option. And it was a battle with myself of what to do, because I felt like I needed my things to feel like me, I needed my things to be me, I needed my bag. Like I needed my stuff. I felt so empty without it. When I made the decision to just go with what little I had and then buying some things as well, I started to feel a little bit more power, a little more strength. I got an email the morning of the day that I was supposed to leave for going to Crony, and I already made the decision that I was going to go. I wasn't going to wait. Got an email. The bag didn't even leave Chicago. So it didn't leave the airport. It didn't leave America. But it left overnight, and it went to Switzerland. So my bag was coming that day, but I would miss it if I went to Crony. And I wouldn't get my things until Monday. Like the Monday, if I went on a Saturday, I wouldn't get it till Monday. Because my aunt would have to ship the things to me on the bus. But I already, bought the bus ticket. Like, I bought things, I'm just gonna go. It'll be fine. It all worked out for the best. It was a very life lesson experience, because with what little I had and managing with like little things and just waiting for the rest of my stuff to come, I found so much peace. I was so scared to camp because of so much anxiety that controlled my life. The first night, I slept fairly peacefully. I felt, and I still feel like I'm back here, and I feel like so much peace. I felt so, like I just left Athens. I was in Athens a day ago, and I felt a little tense. But here I feel more at peace, and I think part of it has to do with just the imprint that I left here was peace and happiness now that I'm back, but also because of the turtles, because my power animal, like it's, like the Peloponnese is the biggest nesting for the Caretta. Kyparissia is bigger, Laconicos Bay is bigger than Coroni, but still the area, and Zakynthos isn't too far away, the area is more turtle heavy. So I feel it more. That I had meltdowns. I had to rediscover my power and strength again, and I had a few other like breaking points while in the beginning phases of working with the turtles and just my own life. So I had to let go of a lot. I really started to see what was taking away my power, and so I don't know which part I'm going to talk about next. What happened during the journey? So I'm not going to explain like everything in deep detail, but with working with Archeon, I do public awareness and, working with the eggs and the nests and learning a lot about turtles and meeting new people and making new friends that I'm so grateful to have. I had a few low moments where I broke down, and I had it just from like the shock of so much changing. But those breakdowns brought me peace, because after I cried or screamed and let it out and relieved it from me, I felt more free. So much more free. And I felt such a emptiness when I left, because I felt like I was pulled from my power too quickly. Like I hadn't fully established my power without having the crutch of the power animal, if that makes sense. So I was constantly being recharged by working and connecting with them. But when I left, the skills and the tools and the resources and what I learned to help me keep my power, I got distracted from, because, and of no fault to them, just because of family and being surrounded with so many people right away. Like so much family right away and so much of the old right away, that it took me some time after the experience to realize two things. I needed to come back for a few days and ground myself alone and protect the peace because I was living in a communal environment with so much people that sitting down and recording this is the first time I've had like a extended period of time, like actually fully alone in an enclosed space, like actually, since I arrived in Greece. And sometimes you need that for grounding. During the experience, I made strong friendships and relationships, and I felt reawoken, myself. So one very, very significant thing that happened was the first time we relocated a nest, because it was a full experience with the eggs and with playing a part in truly helping, because they would have gotten washed away by the water, and there were like, windstorms and things like that happening. So the waves at one point were like massive, and I know like some nests, could have, if they weren't as far back as they were, like, washed away, and that's not good. We want to have a lot of turtles. So that experience was, the first time, was very exciting, very powerful. Except for the fact I still didn't feel the full connection or resonance of the connection with the soul, with the group soul. I felt it. And so my very first morning survey, I saw a stranding of a dead turtle. So with that experience, I saw a dead turtle and eggs. And I feel like symbolically seeing a dead turtle and then seeing eggs, and also I got to touch an egg very carefully. They're like little ping pong balls. You have to like just kind of feel it a little bit, but you have to be very careful not to break them, obviously. And we protect them and make sure that they don't get like predated, like predators coming and eating them, or people coming and all of that. So we make it easier for them to emerge when they hatch. So those experiences, like what I learned like symbolically from that, one, the Dead Sea turtle was headless, and Coroni means crown, so the head. So there is a lot of symbolism I could take from that, from the first morning survey, and then I think it was like the following morning. I didn't have my stuff yet, like I was still like naked almost, like I felt naked, like I felt a little like exposed to everything, because I was missing some things, and there was so much change going on. The energy around here very much connected to the crown, and when you are lost for power and out of balance, your head, your crown, is disrupted. And when it's disrupted, your mental body is a absolute mess. So yeah, the power animals are directly connected to the solar plexus, but if you don't have that inner strength coming up and in, up and everywhere, like you need that to help the mind. It's all related. So when your mental body is out of alignment, you're not going to be able to feel your strength at all. And that mental body comes from you. That comes from you centering your mind. So that way you allow yourself to feel the power, because your mind can talk you out of feeling the power. So I had a lot of struggle with ego separation and the mind and the crown and everything within my first week, overcoming a lot of that. And then laying the foundation for something new and starting something new and creating something new, becoming something new, starting from an egg, starting from a new phase and a new path. When I really shed that last skin. So I've talked before about my connection with the dragons, and so how I experience ascension as a soul is it is like a dragon shedding its skin. So I was told from the get-go that this experience would force me to fully shed that skin and start something new. And that's what happened during the journey. Closer to the end, in the evening one night, I was at a more secluded beach by the castle in Corona, and I saw a turtle at night. And it seemed like she was struggling. I didn't approach her because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to leave them alone, keep the lights off, like let nature. And she went back into the water, and there were no tracks. She didn't fully emerge. Like, she just kind of came up and left, moved around and left. So I thought, is that the only experience? Was the shadow of a turtle moving around, and I wasn't quite sure. And I felt a little scared, a little not scared, because like it was dark and there was this big dark thing moving, but it was a turtle. So what, for me, and that happened at the Crown, the castle. Corona means crown. I don't have a script for this. I just have like a few talking points. So that was still a more powerful experience for me. Slowly I started from dead to egg to seeing one in the distance. I started feeling a change in myself. I started feeling more and more and more connected. I felt like the bond was strengthening. I felt like I was on the right path. I felt like seeing one and connecting with one was an indication that I was in the right direction, because I was resonating at a place where my power animal would come to me. And we have that bond, because when I was too scared of the power that I would get from her, from the turtles, because you can be scared of your own power. When I was scared of my own power, I wasn't gonna attract it back to me. So a little while after that, I go on a morning survey. It was my last morning survey, actually. And I saw a mourning turtle. In the morning, she was trying to nest. She was there for a little while. That experience was the most I don't even know the word for it, most powerful. I started like actually getting emotional, because I thought that if I volunteered with the turtles, like I would just maybe see the hatchlings, maybe not, like there was no guarantee. I never even considered, like I knew with Archeon that if there was a stranding, if there was an issue, like we would help. And we would help take care. But I didn't want to see one fully in pain. Not that this morning turtle, she did have an injury, but she was strong enough to go and keep swimming. You know, you can't stop them once they're going. They're one of the strongest animals. Like they will move. Like you cannot just like go and pick it up. Like they're big. The creta, the loggerheads are huge. So you know, I don't know, I was hoping maybe that I would get to, as I was here and experience and get to see one in broad daylight, just see one and just get to see one in its natural habitat, in its natural environment, just doing what it does by nature. And going and attempting to nest is something that turtles naturally do. And just getting to see what I spent a month studying, like the tracks and the body pits and this and that, getting to see what I spent a month learning about happen was also very powerful. So getting that connection, you don't need to touch them, physically feel them, but being in that close of proximity, I felt the soul and I felt the power. And when she came down and she was going back to the water and she came like a little close to us, but you know, ignoring and going into the water and swam away, I felt like she took away what didn't resonate for me anymore, and I felt the start of something new. And then now that I came back and I went to visit my friend at the like kiosk that Archeon has in Coroni, and someone came and said, oh, there's a turtle swimming, and ran to see it, and again felt that peace, felt that connection, felt the bond growing more. I believe that the more that you work to build the bond with your animal connections, specifically power animals, the more at peace you feel, because that's a relationship that hasn't been worked on, that's supposed to, for you to feel fulfilled. And so when you start the process of fulfilling it, you start to feel more fulfilled. So now I have what I learned from the experience, which I kind of talked about. I'm gonna say the little thing that I learned over the month, which is that social media and music has become so much more negative and so much more angry. And I learned this because after experiences here, when I would go online, and normally what was on my feed, like even things like spiritual based, you know, that you think maybe like this account says like third eye awakening or whatever, like, and these quotes like they make sense. They're like, you think that they're empowering by what they're saying, but it's like toxic empowerment. There's a lot of toxic empowerment really fueling this narcissism. So it's like things like, I'm powerful and I don't need them anyway, and karma's gonna get them, and stuff like that, where it's really like there isn't love and light. It's very much like, yeah, I forgive them and I'm so much better off without them, but it isn't, there's anger behind it. And so I had to like spend time cleaning my feed to really see where there isn't anger, because there's a difference between seeing and showing all aspects of being and just masquerading anger for enlightenment. So I know that I was angry for so long, and there was a lot of that anger that I was masquerading as enlightenment, and that's why those things resonated to me. Because when you're starting off in your awakening journey and you're seeing things online, and you're seeing this and you're seeing that, and you're like, this is how I should be thinking. And then you internalize, you know, subconscious anger that's not meant for you, and you start resonating at that frequency. So when I worked with the power animals, with my power animal, I started seeing that more. And so now my relationship with media has changed again, to seeing the things that really do bring me joy, but that even the ego is like, well, you're supposed to be awakened, so you're not supposed to be finding this entertaining. Okay. I love storytelling, and so I find like comedy, like an improv, entertaining. Because that's something that resonates true to me. That's something from past life experiences and things like that I learned about myself, that comedy and improv and things like that do bring me joy. Even if it's silly and seemingly stupid to the ego, or it's just like silly and doesn't serve you don't think it serves a purpose in being enlightened, it does bring joy. It does bring peace. you feel something, and you can feel someone's creativity flowing and growing, and you're supporting their creative expression. And in turn, you're supporting the creative expression of the collective all. And that's, as a collective all, we need a lot of sacral chakra healing. And so by supporting true creative expression that comes from a place of love and passion and inspiration in yourself or in others, you're helping that sacral chakra healing. With music, I learned that there is a lot of in a lot of mainstream music, there's a lot more anger and upset and a lot more hurt. The videos and things, when I was in a place of hurt, I was resonating with, I'm like, yeah, let's go. And then afterwards, hearing some of the songs, I'm like, well, it's just, and I want to talk about it because I was working on a book, and then I changed my mind and I'm working on a completely different project that I'll talk more about later. But I was gonna, and maybe I will one day, do something like it, but I was gonna work on creating a story about my spiritual journey and really putting pen to paper on everything I experienced, because I wanted to share my story, make sure everybody heard and read it. Well, I've shared my story so many times by spoken word. Why create a fictional world to give it another life? Not a fictional world, but I don't know how I was trying to create it, but it was basically my memoir, but with a twist of putting it in a different world that isn't our own, for spiritual development purposes. But when I realized that with the music of the anger and the hurt and the pain, it's just keeping your pain and negative experience on a loop. And yeah, it can be kind of relieving sometimes to let it out in that way. But for me, music is at least, I think in some ways, a better forum for it when you let it out in that way, because then you can allow other people to let it out in that way. But I do think that there has been just so much anger in media recently. And I think because we're all hurting and we're all in pain and we all experienced a collective trauma together 3 years ago, and it's still affecting us. But for me, putting on a loop in a fictional world all of my pain, all of my hurt, all of my anger, and doing it for the sake of anger. Because there's a difference. There are some songs that seem angry, but when you hear them, you know that it wasn't created with malicious intent. It was created just for a release of expression. But there are ones that you can feel just the anger and the revenge and the hurt and the pain, and it's not for I'm telling this story because I'm healing. It's I am still angry and I want to make this person hurt too. And I don't know if it's from working with my power animal that I became more sensitive to the energy of sound frequency, but it's definitely I feel sick. I started getting really sick and feeling sick when consuming certain types of media. It affected me differently. And it affected me in a way that I'd never noticed before. The experience was so inspiring for me, and because it really has changed my life for the better, and now I know where I'm meant to go, and I know what I'm meant to do, and I feel so on purpose, and I feel very whole, and whole in all aspects of my life, in a way that I wouldn't have been if I stayed trapped in other environments. Breaking free from spiritual isolation, and Awoken Dead versus Frozen Awoken versus Sleepwalking. I'm gonna do videos or blogs or something delving deeper into these topics in the future, so there might just be inspired awakenings about these two topics, or one about them both, or they'll each get their own, but I do just wanna talk on it a little bit now. Spiritual isolation is when you go through your awakening and you still kind of isolate yourself from experiencing life. So when we're not awoken, we're isolating ourselves from spirit, and we're isolating ourselves from connection and from our soul. when we're not awoken in any forum. Now, awakening doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be hippie and crystals and cards and channelings and this and that. Like, you can be awoken in understanding the truth of the universe without fully being so into every avenue of that. You can just kind of know and be at peace. You don't need to go into everything and use all of the tools. But the tools help, and the tools help remind you and keep you connected. But what I want to say is, with spiritual isolation, it's when you awaken and then you isolate yourself from the physical reality. So I was able to break free from that by this experience. So the other one that I'll touch on a little bit is awoken dead versus frozen awoken versus sleepwalking. So basically, awoken dead is when you have awoken in spirit, but you start to die in the physical a little bit. You stop experiencing life, which is what I was in before I came and did this experience. I was just walls up to to being in the physical. Even though I work in the physical as well as doing stuff in the spirit. Like, I do work in the human world, and I'm like, this is a cool experiment, but I never treated it as, this is just something that I enjoy, and it's totally normal to have that and enjoy that, and also enjoy being a channeler and being a light worker. That's what I had. Frozen awoken is when you awaken and you stop learning. And we've talked about it before, but you kind of take what you learned in the base level and you don't allow yourself to grow more. And you do get a little stuck in the physical, but it's a very different thing. And again, that's why I want to talk about it more. And sleepwalking, or the walking dead, is basically you aren't connecting to spirit at all. You're not connecting to your soul at all. You're just kind of existing in the physical without any true connection to source, to the life force energy. You're just being with no inspiration. So a lot of it is related to inspiration with both of those topics, and that's why I want to touch on them further in the future. So if you want to hear more about those two things, make sure to subscribe or follow any of the socials, mainly Instagram, elfianrealm.nova. I will post more actively on there, any updates on blog posts, things coming out, things that we're creating in the realm of inspiration to help you stay on your inspired path. So until next time, thank you so much for listening.